This is Elijah. Elijah was a prophet. A prophet is someone who hears from God and shares it with others. Sometimes God's messages to Elijah were just for him, like the time God told Elijah to live by a brook and said, "Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, for I have commanded them to bring you food." Elijah trusted God, and sure enough, ravens arrived with bread and meat for Elijah. God also told Elijah things that were about to happen, like when Ahab, the king of Israel, started worshiping an idol or false god called Baal. God told Elijah if King Ahab kept worshiping idols, there was going to be a drought for not 1, not 2, but 3 years. And sure enough, it stopped raining, and all the water in Israel ran out. This 3-year drought didn't stop King Ahab, though. Instead of listening to Elijah and turning back to God, Ahab found other prophets who worshipped Baal and built temples in Baal's honor. Elijah knew this was wrong because prophets like Elijah often see things other people don't see. And sometimes God wants prophets to speak out against the proud, the powerful, and the corrupt. Well, because Elijah spoke out against Baal, King Ahab threatened to have Elijah put to death. So Elijah gave the prophets of Baal a challenge. Elijah and the prophets of Baal met at a place called Mount Carmel. The people of Israel gathered to watch the contest. King Ahab was there too. Elijah said the people had a choice: worship idols or worship the one true God. The prophets of Baal built an altar of wood. So did Elijah. The prophets of Baal placed a sacrifice on the altar. So did Elijah. The prophets of Baal called on their gods from morning to night in a loud voice. But nothing happened. Elijah told them to try shouting louder, just in case Baal had fallen asleep or gone to use the bathroom. But no matter how loud they shouted, there was no reply. It was Elijah's turn. The people watched as Elijah's altar was covered with 4 jugs of water, not 1, not 2, but 3 times. Then Elijah cried out to God, "O Lord, answer me so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have brought them back to yourself." And instantly, God sent down fire from the skies that burned up Elijah's sacrifice and the wood and the water. The people knew that Elijah's God was the one true God, the only one worthy of worship. Then Elijah prayed and asked God to end the 3-year drought. And that's exactly what God did. King Ahab had seen it all, and he told his wife, Queen Jezebel. She was so angry that Elijah had won that she ordered for Elijah to be killed. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. Before long, he was out of food and water. But just like with the brooks and the ravens, God sent an angel to provide Elijah with baked bread and water. This gave Elijah enough strength to get to Mount Sinai, the place where God had given another prophet named Moses the 10 Commandments. There, hiding in a cave, Elijah heard from God again. First, a mighty windstorm came, so hard it tore whole rocks from the mountainside. But God was not in the storm. Then there was a great earthquake that split the ground. But God was not in the earthquake. Then fire erupted, like the fire that had burned up Elijah's altar on Mount Carmel. But God was not in the fire. Finally, there came the sound of a gentle whisper that only Elijah could hear. That whisper was God's voice. See, as a prophet, Elijah had done big things for God, things that made Elijah famous, things that showed God's power and might. But God cares about little, gentle, quiet moments too. And a long time later, when Elijah was old, he didn't die the way most people do. God sent fire one more time, like a fiery chariot pulled by fiery horses, to carry Elijah straight to God. And one day there would come the ultimate prophet, Jesus, God's Son. Like Elijah, Jesus would challenge people in power. Like Elijah, Jesus would remind people to worship the one true God, a God who is mighty and gentle. And like Elijah, Jesus would be raised up to be with his Father, and I can't wait for you to hear that story.